You are lying in the dark, and there it is again. That scene, that conversation, that specific moment from 5 years ago when you should have said something, but you stayed silent, or that moment you spoke, and you wish you hadn't. It plays on the ceiling like a movie projector that won't turn off. You try to sleep. You try to think about tomorrow, but your mind drags you back, gripping you by the throat, forcing you to watch the same mistake, the same heartbreak, the same humiliation over and over again. It feels involuntary, like a glitch, like a punishment. You tell yourself, it's over, it doesn't matter anymore, but your body doesn't believe you. Your heart rate spikes, your stomach tightens. You feel the shame as if it is happening right now in this room. Why? Why does the human brain, the most complex biological machine in the known universe, spend 70% of its energy reconstructing a reality that no longer exists? Why do we torment ourselves with ghosts? Most people will tell you it's unresolved trauma. They will tell you to let it go, as if you were holding a heavy bag you could just drop. They are wrong. You are not holding the bag. You are inside the bag. The truth is much darker. Your brain is not trapped in the past because it is broken. It is trapped in the past because it is addicted. You are not a victim of your memories. You are a willing prisoner. And the reason you cannot escape is that deep down, a part of you, a primal, terrified part of you, prefers the hell you know to the heaven you don't. If you are tired of being a time traveler in your own nightmares, listen closely. We are going to deconstruct the prison cell. We are going to look at the machinery of your own mind, the chemical hooks and the psychological lies that keep you chained to a version of yourself that is already dead. This is not about healing. This is about an exorcism of the mind. Let's begin with a brutal reality check. The brain does not care about your happiness. It does not care about your peace, your fulfillment, or your best life. The brain cares about one thing: survival. And to a survival machine, the most dangerous thing in the world is the unknown. The unknown is where the predators live. The unknown is where the terrain shifts. The unknown is where you might die. So the brain prioritizes one thing above all else: certainty. And here is the paradox. The past, no matter how painful, no matter how traumatic, is certain. You survived it. You are here. Therefore, to your primitive brain, the past is safe. Even if it was miserable, even if it was abusive, even if it broke you, the fact that you are breathing means that the strategy of living through that worked. So when you think about the future, a future where you are confident, a future where you take risks, a future where you let go of that old identity, your brain panics. It sees the void. It sees a lack of data. It screams abort. And to save you from the uncertainty of the future, it retreats into the certainty of the past. It pulls up the old files. It replays the old trauma, not to hurt you, but to anchor you. It is saying, stay here. We know the layout of this prison. We know where the walls are. We know how to survive the pain here. Do not go outside. This is why people stay in jobs they hate. This is why they return to partners who destroy them. This is why you replay your failures. You are choosing a familiar hell over an unfamiliar freedom. Your brain is a prediction engine. It is constantly trying to guess what happens next. If you step into a new identity, it cannot predict the outcome. That causes anxiety. So to lower the anxiety, it forces you to hallucinate the past onto the present. It overlays the face of your critical father onto your boss. It overlays the rejection of your first love onto your new partner. It turns the present moment into a simulation of the past so that it can feel right. You are not living in 2026. You are living in a simulation constructed from the debris of 2014. Recognize this sensation. When you feel that pull to ruminate, to obsess over what is gone, understand that it is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are scared. You are terrified of who you would be without that pain. Because if you let go of the past, who are you? If you stop being the victim of that betrayal, If you stop being the failure who messed up that opportunity, you become a blank slate. And nothing terrifies the ego more than a blank slate. Here is the second lock on the cage. You think you are remembering the truth. You aren't. Memory is not a video recording. It is not a hard drive where you store files and retrieve them exactly as they were. Memory is a creative act. It is a reconstruction. Every time you recall a memory, you are not taking it off the shelf. You are rebuilding it from scratch. You are the director, the editor, and the actor in a play that changes every single time you perform it. Neuroscience tells us that every time you access a memory, you alter it. You inject your current mood, your current beliefs, and your current bias into the scene. If you are depressed today, you will rewrite your childhood to look darker. If you are feeling insecure, you will edit that conversation from last week to make yourself look more awkward than you actually were. You are not remembering the past, you are remembering the last time you remembered it. It is a copy of a copy of a copy. By the time you look at it today, the image is distorted. It is grainy, it is noise. But you treat it like gospel. You are torturing yourself over the look on someone's face that they might not have even had. You are agonizing over a tone of voice that you might have invented. Why does the brain do this? Why do we edit our own history to be worse than it was? Because of the Zeigarnik effect gone rogue. The Zeigarnik effect states that the human mind remembers unfinished tasks better than finished ones. If a waiter takes an order but hasn't served it yet, he remembers it perfectly. Once the food is served, he forgets it instantly. Trauma, regret, and failure are unfinished tasks. They are open loops. The brain hates open loops. It wants resolution. It wants to fix the ending. So it replays the scene. It says, let's run the simulation again. Maybe this time we can figure out what we did wrong. Maybe this time we can win the argument. Maybe this time we can save the relationship. You lie in bed at 3:00 a.m., fighting a ghost, trying to win a battle that ended 10 years ago. You are trying to close the loop, but you can't, because the other person isn't there. The context is gone. The version of you that existed then is gone. You are shadowboxing, and the more you punch, the more tired you get. The more you analyze, the more the memory solidifies into a monster. You have to understand the arrogance of this. You think that if you just think about it hard enough, you can solve the past. You think your intellect is a time machine. It is not. Thinking about a fire does not put it out. Analyzing the ashes does not rebuild the house. But the brain loves the analysis because it feels like action. Rumination is the mind's way of feeling productive while staying paralyzed. It convinces you that by worrying, you are working on it. You aren't. You are just wearing a groove in the floor of your cell, pacing back and forth, digging the trench deeper. Now we go deeper, beyond the psychology, into the biology. This is the part that makes you feel physically sick when you try to change. You are not just addicted to the thoughts of the past. You are addicted to the feeling of the past. Every thought produces a chemical reaction in the brain. If you think a sad thought, your brain releases neuropeptides that make your body feel sad. If you think an anxious thought, you get a hit of cortisol and adrenaline. If you have spent the last 10 years feeling rejected, unworthy, or angry, your body has become chemically conditioned to that state. It has memorized that emotional signature. That is your baseline. That is your normal. Your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between an actual experience and a thought. So if you spend hour after hour reliving a betrayal, your body believes you are being betrayed right now. It pumps the stress hormones. It downregulates your immune system. It prepares for a fight that never comes. Here is the trap. The body becomes an addict. It craves the chemicals it is used to. If you suddenly have a good day, a day where you feel peaceful, where you forget the past, your body notices the drop in stress hormones. It notices the absence of that familiar pain, and it goes into withdrawal. It sends a signal to the brain, hey, something is wrong. We are too calm. We don't have enough cortisol. We don't feel like us anymore. Fix it. So what does the brain do? It looks for a reason to feel bad. It scans your memory bank for a painful image. It brings up that thing your ex said. It reminds you of your biggest failure. Boom, you feel the chest tighten, you feel the stomach drop, the chemicals flood back in, and your body breathes a sigh of relief. Ah, there it is. Now I feel like myself again. You are returning to misery because misery feels like home. This is why positive thinking fails. This is why just deciding to move on doesn't work. You are fighting a biochemical addiction with a conscious thought. That is like trying to stop a heroin addiction by just deciding not to want it. The body is stronger than the mind. Until you break the chemical addiction to your own suffering, you will always be pulled back. You will self-sabotage happiness because happiness feels foreign. You will destroy new relationships because they don't give you the dopamine hit of the toxic ones you are used to. You are a junkie for your own history. There is an economic concept called the sunk cost fallacy. It says that people will continue to invest in a losing endeavor just because they have already invested so much. You stay in the bad movie because you already watched an hour. You keep fixing the broken car because you already spent $2,000 on it. We do this with our identity. You have spent years building a story about who you are. I am the one who was abandoned. I am the one who always fails. I am the misunderstood genius. You have invested tears, time, and energy into this narrative. It is a tragic story, yes, but it is your story. It gives you a sense of definition. It explains why you are where you are. If you let go of the past, you have to admit that all that suffering was for nothing. You have to admit that you wasted years being angry at someone who didn't care. You have to admit that the grudge you held didn't punish them. It only poisoned you. That is a painful realization. It is a blow to the ego. The ego would rather be right and miserable than wrong and free. So you cling to the past to validate your pain. You keep the wound open to prove that you were hurt. Because if the wound heals, if the scar fades, then maybe it wasn't that big of a deal. And if it wasn't that big of a deal, why did you let it ruin 10 years of your life? That question is too heavy to bear, so you keep the wound fresh. You pick at the scab. You tell the story again and again to anyone who will listen, seeking validation for a pain that is ancient history. You are using the past as a shield. As long as you are a victim of the past, you don't have to be responsible for the present. I can't succeed because of what happened to me. I can't trust because of what they did. I can't be happy because I have trauma. These are true statements, but they are also convenient ones. They absolve you of the duty to act. They allow you to sit in the passenger seat of your own life and point at the rearview mirror as the reason you aren't driving. It is a dark comfort. It is a warm blanket made of lead. It keeps you safe, but it keeps you crushed. Let's look at the philosophy of time. Where is the past? Point to it. Can you show it to me? Can you put it in a box? Can you touch it? No. The past does not exist in the physical world. It leaves traces, ruins, scars, written records. But the events themselves are gone. They have vanished into the ether. The only place the past exists is in the electrical firing of your neurons right now. You are bringing the dead back to life every single second. You are a necromancer. You are channeling ghosts. When you refuse to let go, you are violating the fundamental law of the universe, impermanence. Everything in nature flows, rivers flow, seasons change, cells die and are reborn. Nothing stays the same except you. You are trying to be a stone in a river. You are trying to freeze time. You are trying to make a moment eternal. And the universe punishes stagnation. That is why it hurts. The pain you feel is the friction of the universe trying to move you forward while you dig your heels into the ground. The depression, the anxiety, the heaviness, that is the weight of the water piling up against the dam you have built. If you just let go, the current would carry you. But you are terrified of the current. You think the past defines you. You think you are the sum of your memories. But if you had amnesia tomorrow, if you woke up with no memory of your name, your history, your trauma, would you still exist? Yes. You would be there, breathing, feeling, perceiving. So you are not your past. You are the consciousness that experienced the past. You are the screen, not the movie. But you have watched the movie so many times that you think you are the movie. You have merged with the plot. You have forgotten that you can walk out of the theater. To escape the trap, you must understand a fundamental principle of biology, necrosis, tissue death. When a cell is damaged beyond repair, the body does not try to fix it. It isolates it. It cuts off the blood supply. It allows the tissue to die so that the rest of the organism can live. If the body refuses to let the dead tissue go, it becomes gangrene. It poisons the blood. It kills the host. You are walking around with gangrene of the soul. You are trying to heal a version of yourself that is already dead. You are trying to resuscitate the relationship that ended 3 years ago. You are trying to fix the reputation you lost in high school. You are pumping energy into a corpse. The first step of the cure is the most violent. You must perform the amputation. You have to look at that past version of yourself, the one who was naive, the one who was weak, the one who made the mistake, and you have to declare them dead. This is not a metaphor. I want you to visualize it. That person who existed in 2018, they are not you. They share your name, they share your DNA, but they are a different entity. They had a different brain, different neural pathways, different beliefs. They did the best they could with the corrupted software they had at the time. And they died. The pain you feel is you dragging their body around, trying to breathe air into their lungs. Stop. Let them stay dead. This is the psychological concept of temporal distancing. You must sever the emotional umbilical cord. When you look back at a memory, you must switch your perspective from participant to observer. Stop looking through your own eyes in the memory. Zoom out. Look at that younger version of yourself from the corner of the room. See them as a stranger. See them as a child who didn't know the stove was hot. You don't hate a child for burning their hand. You don't punish them for 10 years. You feel pity. You feel detachment. You say, that was a painful lesson, and you walk away. You must hold a funeral for who you used to be. Grieve them. Cry for them. Acknowledge that they were hurt, and then bury them. You cannot be reborn if you refuse to die. Here is why most people fail to let go. They create a vacuum. They say, I am going to stop thinking about my ex. I am going to stop thinking about my failure. But the brain abhors a vacuum. If you dig a hole and don't fill it, it fills with dirt. If you empty your mind of the past but don't fill it with a compelling future, the past rushes back in. It is simple physics. You cannot remove a thought. You can only replace it. The reason your brain is obsessed with the past is that your future is weak. Your future is vague. Your future is foggy. You have no clear vision of who you are becoming. So your brain defaults to who you were. You need a future that is more chemically addictive than your past. You need a vision of yourself that is so demanding, so exciting, or so terrifying that your brain has to focus on it to survive. Look at high-level athletes. Look at special forces operators. Look at obsessional artists. They don't have time to dwell on the mistake they made 3 years ago because they are consumed by the mission they are on today. If you are ruminating, it means you are bored. That sounds insulting. Good. Let it insult you. You are bored with your own potential. You are underutilizing your processing power. Your brain is a supercomputer that is sitting idle, so it starts playing screensavers of your worst moments. Give it a problem to solve, not a fake problem, like what if I had said this, a real problem, a goal, a skill, a conquest. When you are pushing your limits physically, intellectually, financially, your brain switches modes. It switches from review mode to acquisition mode. It stops looking backward because it needs all its RAM to handle the present danger and the future reward. You don't let go of the past. You outgrow it. You build a life so large that the past becomes a small room in a giant mansion. You don't visit that room anymore, not because you locked the door, but because there is nothing in there that interests you. Now we enter the realm of the philosophical outlier. This is the concept that separates the masters from the victims. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who stared deepest into the abyss, gave us the ultimate weapon against regret, amor fati, love of fate. Not tolerance of fate, not acceptance of fate. Love. This is a savage concept. It means you do not just accept the trauma, the heartbreak, and the failure. You will it. You want it to have happened exactly as it did. Why? Because of the butterfly effect of the soul. Everything is connected. Your character, your resilience, your dark humor, your ability to see through lies, your capacity to endure. All of it was forged in the fires of your past. If you could go back in time and erase that one painful memory, you think you would just be you, but happier. Wrong. You would be someone else entirely. You would be weaker. You would be naive. You would be less complex. You would not be the person watching this video right now. You would be one of the sheep grazing in the field, unaware of the wolves. The pain woke you up. The betrayal made you sharp. The failure made you humble. To wish away your past is to wish for your own suicide. It is to say, I wish I did not exist as I am. The outlier mindset is to look at the wreckage of your life and say, good, I needed that. I needed to be broken so I could rebuild myself stronger. I needed to be isolated so I could learn to be alone. I needed to lose everything so I could realize I need nothing. This is not cope. This is alchemy. You take the lead weight of your regret and you transmute it into the gold of your character. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of a tragedy and start seeing yourself as the hero of an origin story. Every Batman needs a fallen family. Every Count of Monte Cristo needs a prison cell. Your past is not a mistake. It is your training arc. When you adopt amor fati, the loop breaks. Why? Because the brain only replays things it thinks are wrong. It replays them to fix them. But if you decide that the past was right, that it was necessary, that it was the price of admission for the wisdom you have now, the brain stops trying to fix it. It marks the file as resolved. It says, oh, we didn't lose. We learned. Okay, moving on. And the silence returns. Philosophy is the map. Psychology is the compass, but you still have to walk. How do you practically break the loop in the moment? When it is 3:00 a.m. and the thoughts are spiraling, you use a pattern interrupt. You have to understand that a neural pathway is like a hiking trail in the woods. The more you walk it, the wider and easier it gets. If you walk the path of I am a loser who messed up every day for 10 years, that path is a highway. To change, you have to force your brain off the highway and into the thick jungle. It is difficult. It is exhausting. Your brain will scream, let's go back to the highway. It's easier. You must be ruthless. Technique 1, the 5-second blade. When the thought comes, you have 5 seconds before it takes root. As soon as you feel the slide into the memory, you physically move. Stand up. Do a push-up. Splash cold water on your face. Speak out loud. Say not this. You must interrupt the physical state. You cannot think your way out of a feeling. You have to move your way out. Shake the Etch-a-Sketch. Technique 2, the narrative rewrite. Every time the memory comes up, you are forbidden from telling it the old way. You cannot tell the story of how I was hurt. You must tell the story of what I learned. Force your brain to find the lesson. I didn't lose a soulmate. I learned that I was codependent. I didn't fail the business. I paid for a master's degree in what not to do. If you force the brain to analyze the gain instead of the loss, you rewire the emotional association. You strip the memory of its pain and leave only the data. Technique 3, the memento mori. Remember death. This is the ultimate perspective shifter. You are going to die. Everyone you know is going to die. That person you are embarrassed in front of, they will be a skeleton soon. That mistake you made, it will be forgotten in the heat death of the universe. Your time is vanishing. Every second you spend living in the past is a second you are stealing from your remaining life. It is a theft. You are robbing your future self to pay a debt to a ghost. Get angry about that. Anger is a useful energy. Use it. Get angry at the waste. Get angry at the passivity. Refuse to be a graveyard for dead memories. Here is the secret they don't tell you about letting go. It is boring at first. Drama is entertaining. Misery is stimulating. When you let go of the past, you are left with the quiet, mundane reality of now. And now is where the work happens. Now requires you to take action. Now requires you to build. Now is where you are naked without your excuses. If you aren't the victim anymore, you have no excuse for not succeeding. If you aren't the broken one, you have to stand up. That is why it is forbidden knowledge, because most people don't want to be free. They want to be comforted. They want to be told that their past excuses their present. But you are an outlier. You know better. You know that the past is a story, and you know that the pen is in your hand right now. You can write a new chapter, or you can keep reading the old one until the book falls apart in your hands. The choice is not yesterday. The choice is today. So ask yourself this question tonight. When the silence comes and the ghosts try to enter the room, am I keeping this pain because it is real, or am I keeping it because I don't know who I am without it? The answer might scare you, but fear is the only compass that points north.